Alright, so we are a bit late into this project. However, this kind of stemmed from one of the streams here where we kind of just randomly thought about something, and then since there's not really a good design, we kind of just went stupid and did the dumbest thing that we possibly could ever do. So yeah, obviously this perimeter here, as you can tell by that name, really doesn't make sense because we are in the Nether. And you're saying, why would we even waste the time to make a farm or Enderman based in the Nether when you get very little Enderman spawns in the Warped Forest biome? There has been I don't know if it's a discovery, if he's the first to find it, or, you know, it's mainly just like a bug or a feature in 117 that Elyrio did find with Enderman spawning inside of a Warped Forest. I don't know entirely how it all works, but it's something about chunk borders being next to another waste and a warped forest where a bunch of Endermen will spawn. Basically disregards that, you know, like spawn-in thing that they added with the new biomes, like it's in the Soul Sand Valley with ghasts, and the warped forest, of course, with Endermen. Basically, I will link a video down in the description that way, the way Nembomb explains it, since they do it really well, explanation with that, and also has the actual ranges of stuff like that. So say an Enderman spawns here, for example, inside a warped forest, it kind of blocks off an Enderman in a rough shape of like this, for where no more Enderman can spawn in that area. Same with gas and stuff like that in a Soul Sand Valley. However, with this weird chunk borders thing like that, this is kind of nullified, and you get a regular spawn-in of Endermen all across this chunk border, which drastically will increase your rates. So that's kind of what we're doing here, because, you know, it's basically one of the last two mobs we actually need to farm within the Nether, and then we have all of the Nether-based mob farmed in some sort of way. The last one will of course be Strider, but that one is a whole different project in of itself, so that's probably going to be our last one that we are going to do. But yeah, that's kind of the basis of this area and stuff like that. So we're in the process of tunnel boring this out. This is, of course, a really old bore. However, it is the only one that I know that actually clears enough space for this machine behind me. And some of you may notice it for stuff like that. But over here, we have basically a slightly modified version of Comet's Poor Man's Quarry. From Kades. We did use this on a small scale very, very long time ago, but now we're actually using it on a full perimeter scale, because why not? The basic premise of this, as we kind of thought about it during stream, is that yes, this will take literally forever to complete. However, the main goal is that it will complete itself basically automatically for the most part. Besides, it can't handle gravel, so we probably won't be able to clear, you know, everything out entirely, because it can't deal with gravel whatsoever. But if we got to go through and clear out a little bit of land because, you know, the gravel patches make it miss some stuff, then that's definitely not that bad whatsoever. But yeah, we did do some testing and stuff like that on, you know, netherrack terrain just to make sure the quarry actually worked. But luckily for us in the Nether, gravel only generates, I think it's around like Y36-ish, so slightly above lava layer, and then it will go down from there. So at the very least, we'll have like small pockets that we'll have to go through. We can just probably use a three-way duper after that. That will just go through and flatten it out all out again, for the most part, besides liquids, of course. But yeah, that's kind of the plan for this. This is going to take a very long time. So if we were in a rush, obviously we would just use a regular wood eater and stuff like that. But main goal of this, or the main purpose of this actually, is to basically just set this up, let it run until it's all the way done, basically completed the full perimeter for us automatically without us having to do much of anything besides the main tunnel bore, building the quarry, and then the storage. That's it. So basically, we just want to have this project be basically cleared out by the time we're done a couple other projects. So the way to do that is just to automate it. So that's what we are going to do here. And yes, it's stupid, but it's also going to be kind of cool to see, just because, you know, there's really no reason to do this. However, we decided, why not? Just to try it the one time and just do something a little bit different than what we normally do. We will also get a pretty decent amount of stuff. Obviously, not really worth it in a sense, because really the only thing we're going to get is about 2.75 million netherrack. We're not going to worry about storing this gravel, magma, then we'll keep the nether bricks just because of why not. This will turn into nether rack once it's destroyed. Soul sand, not worth it. Gold, not worth it. Basalt, not worth it. Basically, any of these stuff that's really not worth it here. This is all we're going to be getting out of the quarry itself. Now, we actually don't really have a way of getting netherrack, so this is like the only way we're actually going to store netherrack in a sense, but we'll do it once and then never need it again, because who's going to run through 2.7 million netherrack? Definitely not us. Decent amount of quartz. Obviously, we get it from barter, but it kind of makes sense just to store it anyway, just because why not? Same thing with the actual nether bricks. You get the nether brick, like bar thing from bartering as well. But it's in the full block form, so it's actually pretty decent amount to just have on hand. Nylium, like I said, we'll turn into netherrack, so we'll go with that a little bit, and then roughly a little over 6 stacks of debris. We're still going to do the rest of the boring or stuff like that, so maybe we get around 7 stacks total of debris, which is pretty much normal for a perimeter anyway. But yeah, everything's basically done for the quarry here. I'm going to do a stream, and I'm going to go down and finish final preparations by finishing the tunnel bore up top here, and the final preparations for the quarry with the storage and stuff like that. We still need to do a minecart track, I believe, on that side over there, and then figure out what we're going to do for the storage for that. Enough rambling, let's get on with the project, and we'll come back once it's fully ready to launch. Alright, so we have launched the quarry here, and I think we are getting our first ancient debris here. It's been running for a little bit of time now. First slice is obviously still underway, but yeah. So far, so good. We did test this in CMP, of course, to run like 20 or so blocks tick work, but it's a whole different thing when it actually deals with regular terrain here. As you can see, some of them are like all the way down to the bottom already, and then some of them still haven't even gotten to the first section. That's just how it is when there's a lot of empty space here. It's with this, but yeah, we should be getting the first ancient debris, I believe, with this next explosion here. Once this goes all the way across, and then we get the push forward with the redstone blocks, and we should be good to go. But a couple more seconds here, and we're all the way down in these teams with TNT, push it across, and then at the same time, those will block 36 these blocks. So as this was pushing, that explosion's going off, which is how it's able to actually mine the ancient debris, which we will see in a couple seconds right about now. Here it goes, a little bit farther away, so it didn't look like it dropped, but it actually did do that. So yeah, as you can see, it's not very reliable, but just have to live with it. So we'll get some eventually. I think it's just because of the explosions were too close to each other. It's gotta be a close block, right? Okay. So it's doing some weird stuff. Maybe it dropped and it just doesn't show it on my end. I don't know why. I relogged and everything, but who knows? Maybe it'll appear in the storage. I don't think it just disappeared, but who knows nowadays. But yeah, see, some of them are getting docked again already, but we move. It's not like we really need the ancient debris anyway. It's just a cool byproduct that it would have gotten for us automatically. But yeah, so hopefully the main goal of this project right now is to actually kind of spark some other people's interest to actually make a faster machine, hopefully, for the nether that's compatible to mine ancient debris in 116 plus. So yeah, that's kind of the idea of why I'm doing it. Maybe someone sparks their interest and they have an idea of how to actually do this faster in the nether. But for now, this is like the only one that kind of works to actually clear out everything. But yeah, let's go. We'll probably cut back when there's actually a time lapse for the machine actually running. But that will be probably a week down the line when there's actually enough space for me to actually see everything going on. Alright, so a month later, this is what the progress looks like. Kind of got to the point where it's another 2 months until this thing would be fully done. IRL time, of course, just AFKing and other things on the server. We've been pausing it too as well, so the thought has come to mind that we are actually going to basically scrap the Quarry project. I believe we have over 1 million netherrack to begin with, so it's going to be plenty for us, and if we ever need more, we have an issue. But that's not too bad. Ancient debris, of course, we also have the 41 in the filter, so some good stuff there. I think Rubik has taken all the nether brick and quartz back to main storage, and maybe even some of this netherrack, but it is still quite a bit that we have even just stored here at the moment. So I think it's roughly 700,000. So definitely has been somewhat worth it. Still want to do it again, but that's a different story for a different day. So what we're going to do now is we're going to tear down the full quarry. The end stone will be kind of annoying, but hopefully we can keep that, and the world eater will just destroy it itself. Because mining that up is not going to be fun, even with TNT. Basically need to place a TNT like every block and every other block, even probably the full thing. So hopefully if it's low enough, that way the world eater can just destroy that. So basically going to be world eating out about 2/3 of a perimeter, roughly half. So yeah, so probably close to about 1 million or so netherrack we've gotten from this project so far. Confirmed. So we'll see what we can do here and get the rest of this just world eatered out. That way we can actually start on some things and, you know, get it all done and dusted. We can actually start to work on projects here, because it's been about, you know, a month or two that since we started this thing, and we kind of finished all the other projects that are in the background. So when I finish this one before the 3-year world tour, or 4-year world tour rather, and get it underway. So instead for the disassembling of this and some trenches on the sides and that side over there, and we'll be making the road eater. Alright, so a bit of time later, and the trenches are mined out. We're just running this 3-way duper to clear out all the leftover, you know, gravel towers that the quarry has left over. It's not really that much, but it's just annoying to have to go to each one individually, and it is still quite a bit to mine out mainly, so we're just running this simple 3-way duper by Euler. That way you just clear out all this stuff easily. Didn't want to go too far to break the walls. And yeah, we mined out all these by hand too. So this one was all mined. Obviously, it was pretty much majority air. As you can tell by the carnage at the lava layer and above, this one was TNT. It was trenched out with a trencher for the top down, right into the lava layer, and then we mined the rest of it by hand. Finished probably about 15-20 minutes ago, and same thing with this one. You can also tell it is a majority air, so it was pretty easy to get that done once we cleared out all the lava. My Bedrock's still here, of course, from the quarry, which I will probably just mine up now, because it is quite ugly to look at. But yeah, got all materials here for the world eater. We are going to be using a sort of special one, just because, you know, everything at this project is special, and this will be a cool, you know, sort of trial and error with this world eater, to see if it actually would have been worth it. I think it would have been worth it, especially on the 1K scale, to do it. But this just is a sort of different way to deal with the debris. Instead of pushing it down, what it'll do is it'll actually push it to the side. This was a world eater designed by SG. I believe the bottom part is. I think the top part's very similar, but also sort of modified in a sense. But yeah, you can see the pistons here. They don't push down. They're all pushing to the side. So what that means is that it just deposits all of the debris in this area. This is only a 6-block area. For the scale, if you need to go in a larger perimeter, you might need more. But yeah, that's pretty much everything so far here. Gotta build it twice. Of course, we don't gotta worry about this other half over here, so we have the world eater closer on this side, and luckily we didn't need to mine this end stone. We probably would have just done a 3-way duper if that was the case. But yeah, it's pretty simple. It looks a lot easier to make than probably most nether worlders you've seen. I don't think it's gate protected because there's really no need. I don't think there's any obsidian in here at all with portals and such, so if there was, it would have had to destroy it with the quarry anyway. So I don't believe there would be anything in our way that will stop us. And we have all the trenches mined out, of course, so it'll make quick work of this sort of area. So we'll get on with that. And this won't take long to run at all. I'll probably guess about 2 hours, if that. Is such a short length of the World Eater compared to other stuff, so won't be too bad. So, but yeah. Overall, this is going to be a lot faster than it was the Quarry entirely, so the 1 month that we took to run that little bit, it'll probably take a couple hours to run the rest of it with this World Eater, so that'll be pretty nice. That way we actually get started working on this project. Because we have, like I said, finished all the other ones that we currently had open at the time, and I don't really want to open anymore with being so close to the World Tour. Depending on when this video gets released, it may have already happened because I have a little bit of a backlog with all the crazy projects we finished this year, thanks to all the members on the server. But yeah, gonna get rid of this track real quick, and then I'm gonna start the stream. Of course, if you aren't already following the streams, make sure you do that. You get a lot of sneak peeks to everything as well. I do stream randomly on Twitch, but it is, of course, linked in the description below if you want to give a follow. If you are in the Discord, you can also get pinged in there when I do go live if you wanted to do that. But yeah, a lot of progress does happen on those streams. So if you want to see some more stuff, not just on the YouTube, definitely check it out there. It is pretty chill and laid back. I just do a lot of the grindy stuff on there. That obviously would take forever to show on a YouTube video. So yeah, we get this thing out of the way, and then we'll make our way over there, and we'll try to take the rack over at some point. That's really all that's left here. Everything else is back at main storage, so we'll go from there. So yeah, be back probably once this area is fully cleared. Alright, so the World Eater is pretty much finished now. We got a wide spread of debris all along the backside of it. And trying to figure out if we want to sort of try to develop something that can push all the debris down, way it'll be easier to mine. But being a bit difficult, I wanted to just try to modify a liquid sweeper. That didn't work because of the way the pistons get updated. So we may have to try to find another solution. On this scale, it's definitely going to be a lot easier to just mine it entirely, just by flying to each piece. But, you know, we'll see what happens. People are splatting on the walls here, but it should be okay. But these water destroyers that I made have been working wonders at helping us get rid of the World Eater much faster than it would be to manually mine it. A little bit there, so I'll actually have this one go up a little bit more. Put this stuff back, and just put, actually, I'll just push it. But yeah, so those are all good. Everything's moving along quite well. But then, yeah, gonna figure out just to mine the Debbie now, or what we're gonna do. But if I do come up with something, I'll definitely show it off. That way, if you were to use this World Eater yourself, you could definitely use this to help clean up the Debbie. Obviously, it probably wouldn't work on very large scales because there would be so much debris you couldn't push down as far. But some situations, like a 272 or a 500, maybe this could work for you and help making the cleaning the debris a lot easier. Alright, so everything's all cleared out. You saw by the little time lapse there, we had the debris get pushed down. That all landed right on top of this. So that was pretty cool there. I am going to have to run a three-way duper to pretty much get rid of a lot of this extra blocks in between the bedrock. But I'm going to do the bedrock breaking first. That way, because I have the time, I can always just let a three-way duper go overnight or something between that. So, we'll do that. And I will probably not get rid of the lava, just for the fact that it will spawn proof everything below as well. And yes, it'll sort of, prevent blocks from being blown up, but whatever blocks is on top of, nothing can spawn in there besides striders. But because this area is already cleared out and the mob cap's already filled from the outside, no more of those will spawn. They don't really affect anything to begin with. But yeah, so this little bedrock break-in is going to be very small. We have decided to go with a different farm, which does mean we are going to need an overworld perimeter as well. So I went over there, and let's just say it's not the best. It could be better, but it's it ain't great. So we'll have to deal with that. But with this small bedrock break-in here, we can very easily keep up with it. And the reason I'm making it this way instead of making it the long way is mainly the fact that I can make multiple breakers at once. If I just had it with the couple lines here, I think it's about like 22, so you would just add 10 to that. So it's only 32 blocks long. By the time I can make the next breaker, it's going to be like all the way over here anyway. So it wouldn't really be the best there. So I'm kind of just sticking with this for now. And I'll just continue this because I can place even one row faster than the breaker will be able to destroy. So we'll go with that. And we're not using the recycling one just because it'll be a lot longer to do. And it's really not that many pistons for these layers to just, pretty much just sacrifice them to the void. We probably sacrifice more to world eaters than this breaker would even do. So yeah, with that being said, I have a bot in place just to load this area in case I happen to leave or something. And yeah, get this one underway. If you haven't seen this breaker already, it's been out for quite some time. And it's just a one overhead, so it's really nice. And one overhead on all sides, which is pretty much the best you're gonna get. There is a one overhead recycling one that is out, which we will probably be using for full bedrock roofs, probably the full roof here. We'll probably do that. But yeah, just like that, one slice is done, and it's resetting itself back on the other side for the next one. So yeah, this will be pretty nice. I think it took me about, I want to say it was around about 3 to 4 hours for the last 32 by 32 area that I broke by myself. Well, that was probably for, I think that was for the Hoglin redo. I think that took me about 4 hours max with all 5 layers. So this is a little bit longer than that, obviously. This is not just 32 by 32. Yeah, it's a bit longer, probably like a little bit more than double the length. So, it won't be that bad. It's just a little bit more time in between breakers. So I can probably actually get like 3 or 4 of the breakers running at the same time, which would be pretty cool to watch. I might try to time-lapse this. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I got a little bit of time before F1 qualifications for the weekend here. So if you don't know, I do watch F1 a lot. And yeah, I'm going to be stepping away for an hour. So hopefully I can get all of them built up by then. That would be pretty ideal. I got about 3 hours and so until it starts. So we'll see how far we can get. And we will go from there. But the breaker seems to be working so far. That's always a good sign. I'll just continue with this and be back. Well, probably with let's do it. Let's do another time lapse here of the bedrock breakers in action. Alright, so despite what you may think, here we have the full overworld perimeter completed, wall decoration, floor, as well as the perimeter itself as well. You can tell here it wasn't the best location because it is pretty high terrain-wise for 117 with all the hills. Then we had some pretty low areas where we had a couple plains and a little bit of a desert. We just missed this ocean over here, which is absolutely perfect. It wouldn't have been bad if we were like a couple blocks into it, but if we were like all the way out here, it would have been a long day. But yeah, it went surprisingly very well. I did stream probably a majority of this anyway, so if you were there, you definitely saw the sort of back and forth we had at different locations where we decided to actually finally make it. I think it was a bit more to the right or to the up here a bit, and it was a majority in ocean. One of the two, I don't remember exactly, but definitely a better that it is now in pure terrain in a sense rather than ocean. But yeah, the walls here turned out pretty well. I loved how this, the black on the bottom and the top works really well with the purple in the center, and that's all just concrete powder, wool, and concrete that makes this amazing color there. The floor could have been a little bit better, I think. I think the pattern has just a little bit too much purple in it, but there would be no real way for me to sort of diminish that without taking too much purple out. If I were just to swap, the purple wool for like black concrete or black wool or something, it would be too much. I've tried multiple variations and it would have required the whole pattern to be changed at that point. So, but yeah, so it looks really well. Purple and black, you cannot go wrong with it. If I had to make another resource pack color, it would probably be purple or lime. I would probably have those two as my other color if I did do that, but it does take quite a bit to change everything over from one color to the next. So yeah, time to just build the processing chamber in. They are pretty difficult to work with, unfortunately, Enderman, so it's nothing too special. We have the materials here to make the 1x1 portal. We need 2 of those. This will be for the shulker box loaders, with there's obviously just a couple for right now. And then this will be the materials for the collection chamber itself. So I can tell it's not that much. And it will be TNT looting, of course, because we love making it even more stupid than it ever needs to be. You could, of course, just have a sword swiping station and make the collection a heck of a lot easier, but that's boring. Let's do some things some fun ways, like we have some other previous projects, and drop some TNT on some Endermans, because who doesn't love that? So yeah, I'm going to stream right now. Of course, if you're not already following Twitch, where I do a lot of the streams, make sure you do that. Link in the description below. And I do a lot of stuff on there. That way you guys can see some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that isn't shown on the YouTube for the most part. So yeah, we have done quite a few time lapses here, so I'm not going to do another one with this. We'll just do it on the live stream and go from there. So yeah. AutoCraft's archive is officially live. It is mainly a collection of all of the perimeter decorations that are on AutoCraft. So if you were ever interested in picking up one of these, now would be the best time to do so. Visit the website linked down below. Alright, it's a bit of time later, and we have the full floor decoration in, as well as the farm itself. Told you it was going to be a very small farm for the, output that it would produce, and this is what it actually is here. Glass with the pack spawning, and the spawning pad here, which is not wide at all. So yeah, very simple farm to do. Got 2 endermites trapped in minecarts behind. That's all it is. Elyrio does have a single dimension version of this that is around 50,000, so it is about a third slower, but it's all in 1 dimension if you wanted to do that. It's a bit cooler to watch, obviously, if you don't like just the waterfall of mobs. If you wanted just to have the TNT loot and everything in 1 dimension, which would be all in the nether here, you can do that. And very close attention to the spawning pads. They are actually chunk aligned, so it is 4 chunks in a line that you need, but also part of the bit here for the pack spawning, and a bit of the back for the pack spawning as well. The other thing that is very important with this location is that right this next chunk over is another waste. This one over here is another waste, but this is a warp forest. I believe Elyrio will have a video explaining the whole sort of concept about this spawning mechanic, this type of farm that really shouldn't be possible, but it is, and it's also probably closer to being faster than any end-based farm there. But as you can see, this been dropped in another rack above me, we have the bedrock breaking undergoing. And this is also using another breaker, a different breaker this time, and you might notice that there's no piston placers. Well, it makes use of shadow stack. So you can see here in this minecart, if I go down, it's going to keep going constantly between 14 and 13. So basically every time one of these breaks and goes into the minecart, they basically share the same thing. So if one goes in there, one also goes in that player's inventory, and then vice versa. So basically the player places one, the minecart collects one, and it creates an infinite loop. Now what this does is you don't need to build any piston placers at all because the player is moved across as the bedrock breaker goes. Now you technically also don't need any chunk loaders because the bot would be the chunk loader itself, but we have one up in spectator here just for insurance purposes in case something happens. See, that's not really needed, and it won't increase the mob cap at all really. So yeah, this makes this bedrock breaking super easy because the only time you're spending making this breaker is the time to actually make the breaker itself. Normally, when you're doing a bedrock breaking project, a lot of the time that you spend on these is making the piston placers. Especially when you're doing it 5 times over, it gets pretty competitive, especially on a large scale. This isn't really that bad. You know, it's not terrible. It's like an hour or so to build the piston placer per layer, but in the time that we can make the breaker in about less than 30 minutes is crazy. And that would be scalable indefinitely. So, you know, a 1K by 1K area that would take, you know, probably about 3-4 hours to make the piston placer alone would only take 30 minutes. Because all you gotta do is place one line of pistons and the one line of sticky pistons on the bottom, and then you're done. So that's the huge benefit of this sort of design here. It's not really, you know, totally beneficial on small scales, but on the large scale, it's exponential on how much time it can save you as well. So that's the one we're using right here, testing it out before we were to use it on the 1K void over here. It seems to be going good so far. I mean, everything looks good. Breakers have been running after they've gotten built up, of course. And I think we're going to be going to the Basalt Delta very soon, but looks like we're over a little bit of it so far. And the main concern is just the blackstone here that could get left over, but we'll see on the lower layers. But the breakers should destroy anything else beneath it as it goes. So we'll see how it goes. This is sort of our feasibility test scale before we use it on the larger scale, but it's working good so far, and myself and Juthons can tell you it has saved exponential time so far, and it's only on a 272 scale. But yeah, basically everything is done. Overworld side processing chamber storage is all finished there, so we're kind of just waiting for the bedrock break-in, and then we can do the gradient placer that we're really going to have for the walls here, which is why there's nothing started on the walls yet in the meantime. Usually we would have the walls built up because we're doing it a different way, but this one we're going to do a gradient placer by Elyrio as well. It gives it a nice cool effect there. So basically all AFK time. I'm waiting for a little bit more space before I launch this next one, just so that they don't run into each other, basically. But yeah, we'll do that. We'll be back once we have the placer all built up, maybe, to finish this project off with maybe one more time lapse, because this gradient placer will look pretty sweet there. So I'll see what I can do, and we'll go from there. Alright, so the full perimeter is done. Finished it, I believe, on stream, where we got a little time lapse there of the printer in action. Looked pretty amazing, and we spent the last bit of the stream fixing up the top edges and getting the full thing working with the Overworld processing chamber. So I'm at the mob switch with the new server, and this used to peak at like 70-80 ms on the old server. And with our new server CPU, the Ryzen 9 7950X3D. And I'm sitting at the mob switch here, ready to turn it off. And the server MSVT on the new server CPU, which is the Ryzen 9 7950X3D, is absolutely amazing. This used to peak around like 75-80 ms if you were to load this entity loading. So it's really not that bad, and it's even better when it's lazy loaded. So just gonna click this no block here. It's gonna turn everything off. Gonna stop the item cycle in here. Then we will make our way over to the Enderman farm here to see it in action. Even Rubik still. It's been like a week now that we had the server up, and even now it's still kind of crazy to see some stuff performance-wise with the new projects and stuff that used to be super laggy. It's now basically not an issue for the server whatsoever. So yeah, we still need to make a cannon over here. We're still waiting for a directional cannon from Elyrio. It's a small one that we can build up over here. So yeah, this is the farm in action. You can see the top bits here of the walls fully done as well. We don't have them spawn proof, sadly, but it's not that really big of a deal. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to try to stay high above, that way no Endermen spawn. We do need to turn on the overworld side of the farm first for the collection mainly. So yeah, this is the overworld side perimeter which you guys saw. We also have the processing chamber now in the center. The reason why it's so high off the ground is we originally wanted to, you know, have it all there. You can see this is all carpet. You can't really tell unless you're actually looking at it, but all this is carpet, so we technically could have had it a little bit lower, but we put it as spawn proof out further. But yeah, we just covered the actual floor with carpets. That way the Enderman can't teleport away. That was the initial idea. We wanted to avoid this, which is why we had it so high up to begin with. But unfortunately, they still teleport down here, even though I did it in the test world and they didn't go down this far. So, you know, things could be different somehow, but you can see we already ran the farm just testing it, and we have quite a few Enderpearls, so definitely more than we will ever need. So I'm going to turn this thing on for the collection. And in the processing chamber up here, we have a skeleton. So the skeleton up here is actually to avoid all the XP that would generate if you were using regular TNT looting with the player. With this skeleton, that's apparently my BFF. I think some Rubik probably named that. This completely bypasses the XP generated, so we don't get to deal with that, and also helps the performance on top of it. and which means that no player is AFK here. It's all tied to the skeleton, and since they're holding the Luden 3 sword, they handle everything for us. So I'm going to get the bot in position here. Let's just make sure this is working. Looks like he's not looking in the right spot, so we'll have him get that coordinate right there. Now we'll dispense the TNT to him. So I hooked up the clock to a dispenser with this here that will dispense the TNT each time the bot uses one, so that they will never run out. And that falls down here. It lands perfectly in the water. That also will not have anything blocking its path. So that lands right on top of their heads, basically, and these carpets will push it over. And it's as fast as we can get it without breaking any of the drops here. So we'll go see that in action, but I'll show you the nether side real quick first, and then I will head to the overworld. That way you can see just how absolutely crazy this is. We got everything running over here. So all that's left to do is to jump down to our AFK spot, which right there. It's the purple, it blends in so well. And you can already see it, but that is how fast the Endermen are spawning. It is absolutely crazy. This is what 190,000 Enderpearls clicks per hour in Enderman form. Of course, applying Luden 3 to that, it's absolutely crazy. You can see some of them even walk onto the glass for some reason with their pathfinding. Don't know what that is sort of down to, but it's kind of just the AI kicking in a little bit later than everything else. So that's if they get aggroed and then they start walking towards this wall and then realize that the Enderman's over here for some reason. But this is pretty ridiculous to see in action, because this should not be happening in the Nether whatsoever. But just look at all the eyes wandering straight into it. And you can see on the new server, this has no effect on the MSBT whatsoever. And we have people other places in the server too with other current projects that are going on. So yeah, this thing is pretty ridiculous and I absolutely love it. So over the top, but that's what we like to do here, so I will never ever complain. Let's put a player load spawn. That way we can go see the overworld side now. Let's fly up as high as we can to not spawn anything. A couple of spawns on the outside, not too big a deal. They'll despawn instantly once I go through. And just look at this waterfall of Endermen here. Absolutely crazy. Falling through the TNT. All the Enderpearls getting shot down into the water stream here. And getting loaded into shulker boxes. The speed at this thing, once it starts getting, picked up, is kind of crazy. There's always a constant supply of shulker boxes in this water stream, so it's pretty ridiculous. And this is on a single mob cap too. You can't really increase it too much with a multi-cap, but yeah, this is pretty crazy. We added this powder snow afterwards because we did see that some of them, like the explosion, they would somehow sneak through and go out further, so it wouldn't land in the water stream. And apparently that's still happening with some random momentum. Probably could be fixed just by adding a couple extra blocks on the bottom here just to ensure it never falls down. But then again, am I really going to be concerned about a couple stacks of ender pearls per hour? No, not really. So if you really cared, you could do that. But yeah, TNT drops right into that spot there. We use this string to detect the Enderman falling down. And then that sends a signal to this little clock that is responsible for these carpets to push all the ender pearls off of. You kind of hear perfectly that the last ender pearls that get pushed out, and the next TNT explodes, next TNT explodes. It's like perfectly timed. That way we're not blowing up any single ender pearl. So I'm going to go down here real quick and just show you the first shulker box loader. Just the amazing speed this thing fills up because ender pearls only stacked to 16. I think we timed it as about 20 seconds per a full shulker box of ender pearls just for the one loader. The other one's also going at the same speed too, so roughly about 10 seconds per shulker box. This third one doesn't get used all too much because these first two can actually handle 160,000 themselves. And then we have the back one over here, of course, that catches all the strays and everything else there. So overall, pretty simple collection area. You could have done this with sword loot too, but to add on to the stupidness factor, we of course wanted to add the TNT looting, because it's really not that much TNT per hour, since it's only a TNT, I believe it's every 80 seconds, or 80 game ticks rather, not 80 seconds, that would be way too long. But yeah, pretty much as the one explodes, the next one's falling down, so it's pretty much perfectly timed there to, you know, sustain all the Endermen and not have any of them die to entity Crayman. So overall, pretty unique farm to say the least, with everything and making it over the top with an overworld perimeter, TNT loot in, and all this kind of stuff will have an endless supply. You can see here, there's usually about 3 or so boxes in this water elevator here at any point in time, because we're not using any soul sand there. But yeah, that's pretty crazy, and we now have over 2 double chests full of shulker boxes, which I think is around 50,000 enderpearls, which I think is around 100,000 enderpearls now. So yeah, that's kind of crazy to think about that. Just with testing and this showcase here, we've gotten that many enderpearls that we'll probably never even use, even if we use our player cannon like basically all the time. It's just never going to run out of these things because there's just so many. I don't think we've even used like 8 shulker boxes of enderpearls combined with all of the enderpearl cannons that we've done before. So yeah, that's pretty crazy, and I don't think we're ever going to get even close to filling this many shulker boxes of stuff. So yeah, overall, this turned out pretty amazing. So definitely go check out Ellyrio's video if you want to get some explanation on how this farm works. They did confirm with me that it does work in the current versions, like 120 and stuff like that. Maybe even 121, I don't know for sure, but definitely go check out the video link in the description down below. That will let you know everything about how the farm works, what to look for, and how you can actually make it yourself. Either the single dimension, which is, you know, obviously a lot easier to do. You don't need a full overworld perimeter, but you really don't need an overworld perimeter for this one anyway. Just with Endermen, you kind of got to worry about blocks they can teleport to, so you need a pretty big area for them to, you know, not teleport anywhere to, which is all that carpet down there. So some things to consider if you were to plan on making this farm. So yeah, let's be for this episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, all sorts of things, and I'll see you in the next one.